Idiots, Björn snapped angrily. Complete idiots, Benny agreed. Agneta smiled. Unlike Björn and Benny, she wasn't all that upset by the jury's decision. Now she wouldn't have to go to Eurovision and leave little Linda behind.
February 10th, 1973. ABBA had just suffered a defeat in Sweden's Eurovision selection contest. Their song had connected with the audience, but it failed to win the support of the jury, a panel of experts. Björn and Benny were baffled, while their manager, Stig Anderson, was absolutely furious. "Those fools don't even know what's going on inside their own heads," he complained. "They like the kind of songs no one will want to listen to later." In a way, Stig was right. Nova, the duo that won the selection, would finish only 5th at Eurovision. Meanwhile, the ABBA song that failed to qualify, Ring Ring, would go on to become an international hit.
The English lyrics were adapted by Neil Sedaka, one of Agneta's biggest idols since childhood. "We were very happy that such a famous artist as Neil agreed to help us," Benny later recalled.
The song has an upbeat rhythm, but the lyrics are sad. She sits by the phone, waiting for him to call. But he doesn't. "Tell me, darling, how can I go on without you?" the girl in the song asks.
Breakups and the sadness of a girl, or a woman, left behind would become a theme that returned again and again in many ABBA songs. And Ring Ring was the first in that line.
"It seems you got a little mixed up in the second verse. How disappointed are you that you didn't win the contest?" a journalist asked Frida. "Of course we wanted to win, so we're a little disappointed. Maybe we'll try to make it to Eurovision another time," Frida replied.
The following year, ABBA would triumph at Eurovision with Waterloo, but for now, they focused on more immediate matters, including promoting Ring Ring. First the song itself, and then the album of the same name, their very first album.
The single was released just 4 days after they lost the contest and was quickly swept off the shelves. By April, the Swedish version had reached #1 in the national charts. The English version was at #2, but most importantly, the song also did very well abroad, reaching high positions in Belgium, Norway, and the Netherlands, including #1 in Belgium. It also found success in Germany, Austria, Denmark, Finland, South Africa, and even in several Latin American countries. At the time, for the group, this was an almost overwhelming success.
The group now had its first international hit. To keep building on that success, they needed to travel abroad for promotional appearances. But an unexpected problem came up. Agneta didn't want to leave her little baby behind and flatly refused to go anywhere.
So they turned to a trick they had already used when Agneta was pregnant. One that seems almost unbelievable today. On some foreign TV appearances, another girl took Agneta's place in front of the cameras. Frida's friend, Inga. The reasoning was simple. Outside Scandinavia, hardly anyone knew what the members of the group actually looked like. 4 young Swedes performed the song. Who was going to notice whether that was really Agneta?
Still, that arrangement didn't last long. As Ring Ring became more and more successful, Agneta decided by the end of April that she no longer wanted to stay at home. "Why should I give up my work? Linda won't be any better off because of that. It's perfectly possible to combine work with taking care of her," she said. So when the group was due to travel to Brussels in May, there was no need for a stand-in anymore. This time, the real Agneta went abroad with the group.
That summer, they shifted their focus to touring around Sweden. Over the next 3 months, starting on June 15, 1973, they gave around 80 performances in cities across the country. With such a demanding schedule, tensions within the group began to grow. Problems they already knew from the Festfolket project suddenly returned, when constant performances and exhaustion had quickly turned working together into a source of mutual irritation.
Under the stress, Frida began eating whenever she had the chance. And yet, her weight was dropping at an alarming rate. Agneta, too, was becoming increasingly emotional and irritable from the exhaustion and pressure. Björn had to listen to her frustrations, calm her down, and simply put up with it. We were very tired and often irritable. When I was alone with Björn, I didn't try to pretend that everything was fine, Agneta later recalled.
In Sweden, there was a long-established summer tradition of touring the so-called folk parks. These were large public recreation areas with stages and dance floors where popular artists performed during the summer. For musicians, a folk park tour was something like a nationwide touring circuit. Even the Beatles had performed at these venues. All 4 future members of ABBA were already very familiar with them from their earlier careers. But in the summer of 1973, they performed on the folk park circuit together for the first time.
The group's very first album, Ring Ring, was released on March 26, 1973. The song Ring Ring appears twice on the album. The Swedish version opens the record, while the English language version appears as the 4th track on side 2. Ring Ring has a special place in the group's history. It was here that they first fully achieved the dense, expansive sound that would later become one of ABBA's defining characteristics. Much of the credit for that belongs to sound engineer Michael Trito. While recording Ring Ring, he decided to try an unusual technique.
Shortly before that, Trito had read a book by Richard Williams describing Phil Spector's recording methods. Spector had become famous for his so-called wall of sound. Large numbers of musicians would play in the studio at the same time, often doubling the same instruments. Several guitars, several pianos, all of it blended together into one huge, powerful wall of sound. Trito loved the idea, but hiring that many musicians for a recording session would have been far too expensive. So he came up with a much cheaper way to create a similar effect.
The instrumental backing for Ring Ring was recorded twice. Before the second recording, the tape speed was slightly changed. When the 2 recordings were layered together, the sound became much wider, denser, and more powerful. The result amazed them. Ring Ring sounded completely different from most Swedish pop records of the time. In effect, Michael Trito had found a much cheaper way to create his own wall of sound. The technique would later become one of the key elements of ABBA's studio sound.
Many years later, Phil Spector himself would mention ABBA. In his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech, he named the group among the artists who, in his view, had used the wall of sound approach he had created. But Ring Ring was important to the future ABBA for more than that. The song lost in Sweden's Eurovision selection, but it became the group's first international hit and proved that they could already compete far beyond Sweden. Subscribe for more stories about ABBA.